system and some of the major key points and benefits of how it can help your business both on and off the roof. So to review the agenda that we'll be going over today, first we'll give you a little bit of background on SnapNrack, then overview residential solar mounting systems in general, and start talking about the benefits of railless systems when it comes to just railless versus rail-based systems overall, and then what sets certain railless systems apart, as well as wire management strategies, how to make your arrays aesthetically pleasing, and then talking a little bit more about the structural aspects of the system and why with these railless systems, it's very critical and important to have proper support and training, especially if your business is transitioning from a rail-based system. So, about SnapNrack. SnapNrack was actually started in 2007. AEE Solar got kind of fed up with some of the existing mounting products in the industry and created their own new racking design and division, hired a couple engineers to start designing a better product. And then by 2009, the SnapNrack brand name was being sold through AEE Solar through distribution. And then in 2012 through broader distributors. And 2012 is when we were starting to get our first patents finally awarded for some of our products and some of our unique snap-in features and channel nuts, etc. In 2014, we received our initial UL 2703 listing, and that same year was when Sunrun purchased SnapNrack. 2016, we crossed the 1 gigawatt threshold of product deployed, and with that in 2017 released really our current generation of bread and butter products as far as our ultra rail and towel replacement solutions and our initial RL system. In 2018 is when we brought our umbrella technology that we'll go through here during this presentation to the market for both our rail-based and railless products. And then in 2019 is when we launched our RL Universal system, and our parent company took over the #1 position in residential solar mounting. So the RL Universal system is what we are here to talk about today. But first, we're going to talk about our mission, and that is to provide products and services that simplify the process of installing solar systems and lower installation costs, maximizing productivity and profits for our customers with top-notch quality. So the thing is, for us, our mission is to put more solar on the roof, and to do that, make it less expensive, make the time on the roof be less, more convenient for the homeowner, more convenient for the installers. And to do so, we rely on feedback from installers out in the field. And we are constantly working with the teams that are on the roof and some of the teams off the roof to help design simpler products that make their life easier and help get the installers on and off the roof faster. So everything that you're going to see today is through years of listening to the customers and trying to improve upon our products. This is now our 3rd generation of a railless system, and it really helped getting the feedback from the field to work out a lot of the kinks and solve a lot of installer issues that they've had in the past with railless systems. So, an overview of residential mounting systems. Your typical longest one would be your rail-based systems and your railless systems that have been around quite a while now. But really, one of the main differences with these is these are module attachment solutions for a variety of needs. And you may use a different type of system based on your mounting surface, whether it's a flat roof, a pitched roof, or possibly, tile versus composition shingle. And even, most ground mounts, for example, are going to be rail-based. The other considerations when choosing between these different type of systems are going to be your engineering considerations, such as your wind speed and snow load. And then obviously, some of it comes down to installer preference and just customer needs. It's important to understand that no one mounting system, as the world exists today, fits all scenarios, all solutions. If you're using Railless on the roof for composition shingle, you may use rail on tile roofs because it makes more sense on those. And it's just important to understand that when making a decision for your business as far as the solution you want to move forward with. So, rail-based systems. Long history within the industry. When solar first was getting started, we were putting Unistra up on the roof, and it kind of continued to evolve from there. So the process with rail-based systems is the roof attachments connect to a rail, and then modules are clamped to the rail, and the rail is the interface between the roof and modules. They're great for higher loading conditions, and the adjustability along the rail left and right is really nice as far as the installation is concerned. With rail-based systems, they work with pretty much every roof type out there, and they're really intuitive to work with as far as if you've installed one rail-based systems and you transition to another, you're gonna be able to pick it up really quickly. One thing to note, and this is where the Railless systems will set themselves apart, is with rail-based systems, you have integrated bonding along your row and typically need a jumper to bond row to row when you're installing a rail-based system. Now, one of the key components of why Railless systems came out and why rail-based systems have continued to drive down in cost is the total cost of installing a solar system on a house. Now, our business, we don't do inverters and modules. We can't affect that cost, but what we can affect is the cost of the racking of the mounting system. We can affect the overhead and labor and BOS costs by making that system more efficient, whether it's through having smaller truck sizes, because with a railless system, you don't have to carry long lengths of rail, less warehouse size because everything fits in a box. And by making the system install faster, we can reduce that labor time on the roof and reduce the amount of hardware necessary to install the entire solar system. So when we're looking at our designs and talking to customers and designing these things, we're not just focusing on making the product itself, the hardware, cheaper. We're trying to make every aspect of the install process and your business operating costs cheaper. So, Railless systems, somewhat newer technology. Now they've been around for quite a while, but definitely newer than your rail-based systems. Some things to note is with Railless systems, it's really key to get your mounts lined up. You don't have that rail interface underneath the modules for the interface between the modules and the roof. So you're putting your mounts down and the modules are directly mounted to those mounts that you put on the roof. As far as adjustability, with our system specifically, you still have some adjustability side to side. We'll go into that in a little more detail when we review the components. But one of the key points is that with these, the entire array has integrated bonding. So you literally don't have to do any jumpers. You obviously still have to have a ground lug at some point, but you have bonding along a row and from row to row within your columns with Railless systems, and everything's integrated into the mounts and clamps. So that's definitely something that is a major benefit with your Railless systems. So the other benefits, really simple to install attachments. If you've used our Ultra-Rail system or rail-based systems with our umbrella technology, that's all straightforward, easy, simple, single lag into the roof. One thing to note with Railless systems is they are typically compatible with specific sizes of modules that are your industry standards. As you see here, you have 30 millimeter, 32 millimeter, 35, 38, 40, and we'll go into how you integrate with each of those module sizes in a little bit. But because you're mounting on one side and sleeving on another, you're going to have module-specific height requirements to a certain degree, even with a universal system as ours is. The biggest benefits are simplified logistics. Everything fits in a box. You can now maintain smaller truck sizes for your crews. You're not lugging long lengths of rail onto the roof. It's just simply carrying a box up a ladder and starting to unbox your components and getting them out. They're really benefited by simpler installs. So even though you can do staggered arrays and everything, if you do simpler, smaller installs, you can get more power out of a particular area. And we literally, based on logistics, did 10 beta tests with this product out of a small sedan that we had the boxes in. So modules going really fast. One of the keys is going to be your wire management. And one of the big benefits of this is taking a lot of the wire management off of the roof and doing it down at the truck as far as preparation. So we'll go into some of those wire management strategies that can really improve your business and your process flow in a little bit. So when you're looking at Railless solutions, simplicity is key. When the initial Railless solutions in the industry started coming out, including our own, a lot of them were a little bit overly complex and just had a lot of components and were a little clunky, to be honest. One of the keys when you're looking to switch to Railless is you want something simple and mainly intuitive, so it's easy to train your crews, especially if you have a large number of crews. You want to make sure that the structural capacity and engineering is capable in your market. And you want to make sure that the wire management solutions are going to make that part easy. You no longer have a rail channel to run your wires in, so you need to make sure that you have wire management solutions that fit with the Railless system. The other big thing is going to be aesthetics. You don't want a bunch of mounts on the outside of your array making it look ugly. You want to have a nice, clean, finished array that is going to make homeowners happy. And lastly, having the technical support from a training perspective really can make the transition go really smoothly for your business. So that's where we get into the SnapNrack RL Universal system. So RL Universal is completely designed and thought out around getting the lowest possible cost of install without compromising anything as far as performance, the aesthetics, and it's designed to make it simple and intuitive so that it's easy for installers to learn and installs faster than any other system out there. So this entire design is after years of going through iterations and listening to customers, and we're really proud to say this is a system that's designed by installers for installers, and it has a huge effect on your overhead costs, your warehouse costs, and your labor costs on the roof, as well as the price point being in line with your typical rail-based system. So, component overview. All of the hardware with the RL Universal system follows the SnapNrack standard of single tool solutions. Another big thing is we thought about service when it comes to the design of the system, and that a single module can be removed from an installed array without removing entire rows or columns of modules around it. So if you need to remove one module that's gone haywire and replace it, you can do that with this system without removing other modules like you'd have to do in a rail-based system. The other thing, as you'll see when we get to the install process portion, is a single person can install this system. Since the COVID-19 pandemic has started, I've had to do multiple trainings myself on our mock roof in our warehouse where it's just me with a video camera installing an entire system by myself. And I will tell you that unlike rail-based systems where you gotta, have multiple people, you can install this system with a single person. Obviously, ideally, you want more than one person and it'll go much faster, but it's really a unique feature of this because you don't have to reach over modules to tighten clamps. Every bit of hardware is tightened from above and outside the array, and that really helps as far as installer safety as well. You're not worried about installers being on the eve of a roof trying to tighten something down. It's just a very safe install process as far as this system is concerned. So the components. Pretty simple. Right here, I'm showing the mounts separately just so you can see what the mounts look like and where they have your leveling adjustment and everything. But the mounts and flash track and flashing that you see down below, that's all one component. You have your links for going between modules within a row, and you have your skirt for the front of the array. Then, depending on your module height, you're probably only going to need to carry 1 or 2 different spacers, depending on how many modules you carry in your warehouse. But it's important to note that those spacers are only needed on the front row of the array, and it's not needed throughout the entire system. So very simple, only 4 components needed to install this system as far as the mounting is concerned. Just makes it really nice and easy as far as inventory management and getting the right material out to a job. One of the major benefits of the SnapNrack RL Universal system in comparison to any other Railless system on the market is we've designed a system. This was a big pain point that we heard from installers that has 0 mount and link interference. So what that means is when you have a mount at a location where you have an intersection of 2 modules, typically you would have to have some sort of hybrid mount or attach a different mounting bracket to it to mount in that location. We've designed the offset of our mounts to be able to flip back and forth and designed our link so that it can be installed anywhere along the module. As you can see here, we're showing an example of where you typically have mount link interference. And as long as you have an inch of that link on the module, you're good to go. So this is like one of the major benefits, that you can slide that link left and right. And as long as you are essentially covering each of the modules a little bit, it's going to work. And you can put that mount either direction, flipping it back and forth on the flash track in order to avoid this interference issue. So how does it mount to the roof? If you're familiar with our Ultra Rail system, we use our umbrella technology that creates 20+ years weatherproofing. It's got a double layer seal between our elevated cone out of the flashing that's up in the umbrella lag, and it is secured to the roof with this flash track that you can see here. The flash track is 7 inches long to create 6 inches of north-south adjustability and make it really easy to slide and clamp on modules below. And one thing to note is this umbrella technology, even though it's shipped standard with a gasket in there for additional sealing, has passed all the UL wind-driven rain tests and all waterproofing tests without the use of that gasket. So the metal-to-metal seal is a full mechanical seal. So you don't have to worry about rubber components wearing out over time or anything like that. It's going to create a lifelong seal for your system with just the metal-to-metal seal portion of it. After the flash track, the next thing to talk about is the mounts. So the mounts simply rock into place and snap in with a channel nut, and then they're secured to the flash track in place with a single 1/2-inch socket by tightening that channel nut. As I talked about before, the great thing about the length of that flash track is that the mount can slide up and down for 6 inches of north-south adjustability. Really key with a Railless system, having that adjustability, so that if you do make a slight mistake and you're off by 1 inch or 2 on your layout when you're putting your tracks down, you can always move up or down with quite a significant bit of adjustment and capability right there. The RL Universal links. So the links create your structural connection along a row of modules. So they take care of the strength portion of that, but also include the bonding along the row. So this is why you have integrated bonding within your row. All you have to worry about is clamping this link down and you'll have that bonding happen. There's also a drain slot along the entire link on both sides that lines up with module manufacturers' drain holes. So you don't have to worry about violating module manufacturers' warranties or worrying about drainage issues with your link with this system. You can see here, we show a little bit of a detail of how that bonding happens with the link and how it clamps on to the bottom row of modules, then has this long landing pad on the top to slide in your next row. No need for clamping on the bottom side of modules. And we have a spacer included to set your module spacing along a row, and that spacer can slide back and forth, left and right along the link in case you have a staggered row or need to offset the link based on that issue I talked about earlier where you run into a link located near a mount. The skirt and spacers. So the RL Universal skirt is an actual strong box frame structural skirt piece. I'm a 285-pound man, and I've jumped on this thing when it's locked into place and it does not move. What's great about it is just putting that skirt in first at the bottom of your array so that you can have a safeguard of parts and tools and boxes sliding down the roof. This way you don't have to jump off the roof to go grab them. It's a nice place to start your system before you start putting modules down and can use them. So it's clamped on the bottom side of the RL Universal mounts. Depending on the module size you're using, you're going to put one of these spacers on to match that module size to set the height of that clamp so that the module rocks in very easy above it. Also, great as far as aesthetics. When you look up from the ground, that skirt's all along the front of the array. Can't see any of the mounts underneath or any wires, etc., because that skirt is in place as an aesthetic solution. So, wire management. Obviously, fundamentally different not having your rail to run your wires in. So, what we've done with this is viewed the module frame as the rail. There's a lot of space in there, and you can run your PV wire and trunk cables within that module frame to maintain your wire management. We'll get into our specific wire clips and stuff that we've designed for this system that help make you do that even more efficiently. Your module level power electronics components will also attach to the module frames, and your junction boxes and other hardware will attach to the roof via your umbrella mounting and flash tracks. So this goes into junction boxes, your RSDs, other devices. What you'll do is install your flash tracks, attach all of these devices via channel nuts in a typical fashion, whether it's your junction boxes or other equipment, and you can also mount your ground lugs to the flash track as well. The flash track has the same profile as our standard Ultra Rail profile, so any wire management accessory that you've known and enjoyed with Ultra Rail will snap into the flash track and can be mounted in it. As far as running your PV wires, we designed a new wire management clip called the Smart Clip, and as opposed to your S-style designs that are prominently used throughout the industry where you can tug on the wires and pull them out of the clip, we designed this with a W shape so that it actually holds the wire within the module frame and if pulled upon does not pull out. So it's really intuitive. You place the wire in and you just push the clip over it. It easily tucks them within that module frame and allows you to use the module frame as your wire management channel. We have two versions of the Smart Clip. We have our Smart Clip 2, which handles 2 wires, and our Smart Clip XL that you can see here in the bottom left that actually handles up to 6 PV wires. So the biggest key, I alluded to this before with wire management, is really coming up with a plan to manage your wires down at the truck. So come out with your plan about how you're going to run your wires and minimize long home runs and jumpers and prep the modules at the truck. So you can see in this photo here, we've used smart clips to make it so all of our module leads are at the corners of the modules and will easily plug in once we get up on the roof. It makes wire management so much faster and simpler. You're doing it down easily, standing on the ground with the module propped against your truck, and then once you get up on the roof, it's just plug and play and makes things run very fast and smooth. If you're using any sort of MLPE device, you're going to use this frame attachment kit. It clips into place on the module and secures your optimizer or microinverter, and then it has a smart clip on top of it that you can use to potentially loop some of your wires on if you have some extra wire lengths, but otherwise you're going to follow the same method as the previous slide and run your wires using smart clips to the edge of your modules, so you're ready to just plug and play as you run your wires on the roof along with your modules. Lastly, we came up with a little bit of a lifesaver known as the wire saver, which is this ratcheting little clip that once you're done with your array, if you look up on the roof and you see some wire hangers, you can actually secure the wires using this wire saver to keep them from dragging down on the roof or just resting down below. The way you use it is take a piece of copper wire that you already have for grounding, just make a little hook in it and pick that wire up and then place the wire saver between the modules, put the wire in place on the forked end of the wire saver and just pull up with your finger and ratchet it in place, and it'll hold that module up and you'll be good to go. All right, we went into the wire management first because it is key with all Railless systems to do it down at the ground before you get on the roof, and with the products that we've designed, it just makes the process move extra smooth, extra fast if you do it that way. So now we're going to move on to the next portion of the install procedure, which is the actual module installation. So we have 2 different attachment components. 99% of the time, you're going to be using your standard RLU mount and flash track. But if there's a case where you need to reach up to the top of a ridge, we also have this ridge mount that you can see on the right that allows you to mount modules even higher up on the ridge of the roof if you can't fit a flashing up that high or you're trying to go all the way up to the top. Obviously, in many situations, your setbacks won't allow you to go to the top of the roof, but if you have a situation where you need to do it, we have this product available that has much more adjustability and length to go even higher up the roof. So the install procedure. Some of this is going to be really familiar to any sort of rail-based solution. Your flash track installation. You're going to drill your pilot hole in the rafter, use a pry bar to loosen the shingles, and test the fitment with the flashing. Insert the, once you pull that flashing out, you're going to apply sealant around the pilot hole on the flashing and fill the pilot hole. Then you're going to place the flashing over that sealant and pilot hole. We have alignment markers on the flashing to help you align with the upper course of shingle. So it makes it easy once you insert that flashing underneath the shingle to line it up. And then you're going to secure your umbrella lag through the hole in the flash track and flashing at a minimum of 2.5 inches to the rafter, but just secure with an impact driver all the way down until it's flush with the roof and sealed. Next, after you've installed your flash track and have that ready to go, you're going to install your RL Universal mounts. So the mounts can either rock in or slide in from the end, whatever you find easier for your process. And then you're going to want to partially tighten the bolt on top so it seats the channel nut into the flash track and can slide up and down very easily. And then if you run into a spot where you have mount link interference potentially, you're going to flip that around. It's very simple. You just flip the mount to the other side to avoid any interference with your links. Very straightforward as far as just your normal channel nut process, 1/2-inch socket to secure the mount to the flash track. So one of the keys is to level and align the front row. We've included a little cleat on the mounts to wrap your string line around and align it. So as far as your north-south adjustability, the mounts easily slide up or down with the track. Make sure it aligns with your array layout after you've snapped your line. To adjust the height, there's a 1/2-inch socket on the side to adjust the mounts up and down, then tighten to level them properly. And then, like I said, using that cleat, that string line feature, you'll be able to easily line up the front row mounts both vertically and north-south along the roof. So next up with that first row is the skirt. You're going to put the skirt spacers on the mounts. They just snap into place right on the front, on the short side of the mounts, which is the clamping side. The top side is the sleeving side. The modules are just going to sleeve into and rock into. Then you're going to place the skirt in the mount. It's got a little feature that it's just a little alignment feature on top of it that makes it easy for the mount to center on it. And then you're going to clamp down the mount on the skirt, and then at any section in between skirts, you're going to go ahead and put a link. So the skirts come in landscape module length as well as double portrait. So they are also sized to fit on a smaller vehicle. It's not long, 144, 168 inches lengths of skirt. We're talking literally the skirts are the size of one or of a module in landscape or 2 modules in portrait, so easy to fit in a car or truck. Once the skirt's into place, and this is the cool and unique part about the system, the module, you just stand up above it on the roof and rock it into place on the bottom. You do not have to reach down and secure anything on the bottom side of the module because you're setting the height of that mount with the skirt and that skirt spacer. It'll be sized perfectly for that module to sleeve into place. And then once it does, you can slide it left and right, make sure it's flush with the edge of the skirt so you can move on with your array, making sure everything lines up. Once you've rocked that into place, you're lowering the module down, rocking it fully seated into the bottom mount. And then once it's down level to the roof, you'll take, this is one of the other reasons for the adjustability on the flash track, you will take the upper mount, pull it back out, push it in so that it's right in place on the top of that skirt, and take your 1/2-inch socket and secure the top of the module with that upper mount. So how you secure that module, you're going to put it into place and then finish securing that channel nut that's within the flash track so that it's into place and fully mounted. And then you're going to tighten the clamping bolt on top of the module, fully clamping the module. Once the first module is installed, then you just keep running down the roof. The fastest way to do this is just have one person running, since it only requires a single installer. Once you get to this point, you have one person running down the row, and the next person can start on the next row, just being essentially from left to right, one module behind the other, and you're just running it in like a pyramid. It's really incredible how quickly it goes in from here on out, since you aren't worried about any spacers or anything that's only for the skirt. You just continue clamping and sleeving as you go throughout the rest of the array. As you can see here, next module gets positioned, lowered with the next module row, and between each of the modules, you're going to put in a link. Just like the mounts, the links only clamp on the bottom side and provide a structural rigid connection that the next row modules can easily sleeve into. As I mentioned before, the links have a spacer in the middle that will help keep your spacing consistent as you go up through each module row. So you're not worried about having to measure or align things because we've included that spacer, that fixture, that aligning tool for you with this product. So as you can see, the install process when it comes to RL Universal is vastly different than rail-based systems. You're not holding a module down on a rail and aligning it with the next module and clamping between them. It's very intuitive, but it's important to have technical support and training. And the SnapNrack Applications Engineering team is here to support you guys. We've got a full team of applications engineers and field trainers that can help teach you guys how to install RL Universal. We can get people out into the field to help walk your crew through it and go over the install process, really make the transition much easier for them. It's also important training-wise for your designers to understand layout strategies for the array that make this process simpler. For example, if you're used to rail-based systems, you're used to installing the majority of your systems in portrait, RL Universal is much better installed in landscape. And obviously, even though I've shown you how we easily support staggered arrays, simpler arrays are going to be much cleaner and easier to deal with. We can help run you guys, your teams through some of these wire management strategies we discussed, and show you how to use our online design tools. We have our configuration tool up on our website to help configure your array and develop a bill of materials that will make it easy for you to order your parts for each job or plan out what you're putting on the truck if you're stocking the inventory. Lastly, the loading characteristics. As you can see here, RL Universal gets 6-foot spans in a majority of regions, up to 170 miles per hour wind and 40 PSF snow load. This is in landscape orientation. As I said, that's just the ideal way to install this system. So by designing in landscape, you're going to get much better spans. Gets 4-foot spans all the way up to 70 PSF snow load. But really, the system is, as you can see, mainly snow load dependent. It's very strong as far as uplift is concerned, and really pretty much equivalent to your standard rail-based system. Is better than some as far as your structural capabilities. Here's the configuration tool I mentioned a little bit in our review of the technical support. The configuration tool makes it really easy to configure your array layout, and you can see you can easily put where you're going to have mounts versus links or ridge mounts. Select what modules are corner modules versus interior modules. It includes all of our structural engineering, so you can be sure you're complying with that. Just a really easy online tool to use. Lastly, aesthetics. We're putting these on homeowners' roofs. They want to look clean. They want to look pretty. Here you can see the use of the skirt and the black tops of the RL Universal mounts and links really make a clean finish to this array. I mean, the hardware is pretty much invisible once the system is done, besides the sleek skirt at the front. Really makes a beautiful finished solution that any homeowner would love. So just something that we had to keep in mind, because if we didn't have that skirt or had silver tops to the mounts, it would look a lot uglier, but we want to make this a beautiful system when the install is finished. So with that, I'll leave it open for questions that Hannah can take over a little bit, and I'll be here to field. But if you want to connect to us or see any more videos as far as training, install procedures, some more details on these products and everything, you can follow us on all of our social media channels. Got all of our @ and slashes and everything right here below if you want to check out some more. But with that, Hannah, I'll turn it over to you as far as potential questions.